100 million Ghana cedis for the National Rental Assistance.
Well, we're now hearing from the National Tenants Union. The General Secretary of the Union, Frederick Opoku, has been speaking on the Pulse this afternoon with Daniel Dadzi. And he says the scheme is brilliant in theory, but favors those in the formal sector.
One, I disagree with it entirely from that angle. This is because this is talking about a landlord who register and for the you pay to them. There are a number of Ghanaians who wouldn't benefit from this policy. They wouldn't. They might maybe going forward to try to probably figure out. But as it stands, I beg to differ. If majority of Ghanaians who are not in the informal sector will benefit anyway. Because we are paying the thing at the end of the month, we pay or we deduct it from their money. What about those the informal sector? They must come clear to tell us if really they have an open policy whereby in or as we move on, they integrate the poorest of the poor in the community to benefit. So that's what I think. Yes, so if not that, then it will be a mysterious agenda of and for that reason, we have to revise their needs.
Now, the Public Relations Officer at the Rent Control, Emmanuel Posu, outlined some specific reforms which will facilitate the smooth implementation of the scheme.
The digitization of the department is very key. The world is moving, so the digitization of the department is very key. Logistics broadly in all aspects is also very key. We are excited of this thing because if the implementation of the digitization is to come into effect, all our offices will have computers, all our offices will have data to work with. So these are some of the reforms that will work. As a department which is under the Ministry of Works and Housing, our mandate is to assist in the formulation and implementation of government policy. So we are ready. Whatever the policy may be, if it's feasible, we give our advice. If we give our advice and it comes to implementation.
How digitized are you now? How many computers do you have?
Currently we have 64 offices. All the offices have computers. But what we are lacking is the data, the internet connectivity. It's only few. If you come to only Accra and Kumasi, that's where we have those aspects. But our offices along the district, most of the districts don't have status. So it makes communication very difficult. We have to use sometimes manual things to get what we want.
But what about the availability of data on people who can in fact qualify? The lecturer at the Kumasi Technical University, Dr. Smart Sapon, says that could be an issue that may hamper the implementation.
I was referring to how we wait so the reality knocks at our door before we look around for data. Our inability to manage the existing rent laws and to ensure the absence of data. We do not actually know where our landlords are. We do not have any traceable information about them. When tenants even wants to complain about some of these breach of the rent laws, they are nowhere to be found. Agents usually do stand in for landlords. The trace is not there, David, Daniel. And in my view, that is where the crux of the matter is. I want to see if we really need to implement this plan. Amid all the challenges that the landlords, citizens, and interesting views that the general public have expressed about it, our concentration on that essential item called data. That essential item called data. And it is quite easy to do. I don't know why we find it difficult to do this.
How would data help us in implementing this policy? Practically, what are the first things that we can do with data?
So practically, the first things we're supposed to do is to have the list of landlords and the address to their various residential.
And as a lecturer at the Kumasi Technical University, Dr. Smart Sapon, they're speaking on the promise that we had on over the weekend on Saturday, the Vice President laying out in a manifesto that government is going to provide loans so you could pay your rent ahead. A lot of clarification still needed on that, by the way, and we'll get it for you if you join us on PM Express later tonight. Now to the campaign trail now, where the candidates have been crisscrossing the country. Well, the vice presidential candidate of the opposition NDC has, of course, today been doing the rounds as part of the campaigning. Has been talking about the security situation in the country. She's asking security agencies to do more to safeguard Ghana's stability. She's been speaking after suspending her campaign to tour the Senafo North constituency to commiserate with the family of a businessman in the area, Akwesi Boahene, who was killed over the weekend. Joseph joins me with a statement that had come out today. Joseph, what does the statement say?
So this is a statement signed by Morena Traba, who is the spokesperson and head of communications at the office of the vice presidential candidate of the NDC. And it says, Professor Nana Jinopokwajiman, vice presidential candidate of the NDC, has bemoaned the growing state of insecurity in the country. She raised these concerns when she commiserated with the bereaved family of an industrious, successful and respected businessman, Mr. Akwesi Boahene, in the Senafo North district of the Ahafo region. Mr. Boahene, an established timber contractor and a staunch member of the NDC, was shot and killed by unknown assailants on Friday, August 21, 2020, as he returned from home. While sympathizing with the bereaved family, the vice presidential candidate indicated that the state of insecurity in the country is increasingly causing Ghanaians to live in fear and that it should no longer be tolerated. Citing a number of similar unresolved killings, Professor Pokwajiman said, and I'm quoting here, "It is shocking some of the things that are happening in this country, and it is clear that these killings and violent acts are getting out of hand," she said. Then the statement says Professor Pokwajiman briefly suspended her campaign tour of the Ahafo region to visit the bereaved family at Mim, and she observed that it was absolutely devastating for a breadwinner of a family to be killed in such a gruesome manner, and she stated that the security architecture must do more to protect citizens and also safeguard the stability.
Do we know what the background to this killing is?
It's a story that's been making rounds over the weekend. Adom Online reported that this gentleman, who is an NDC financier, was returning to his home. That was on Friday night in the Mim area, and he was shot by unknown assailants. And his body has since been deposited at the Garza Hospital mortuary, awaiting autopsy, even as the police begin investigations. And according to the Adom Online report, the police are yet to comment on the matter.
We would also be speaking to Okudjo Tabrakwa, who joins us on the telephone line right now. He is MP for North Tong, who has been traveling with the NDC vice presidential candidate. Mr. Okudjo Tabrakwa, thank you for your time here on Newsnight. I think we've lost him there. We'll try and get him back. Also today, some very interesting piece of legislation on security that links to this that we need to be breaking down for you. We know that the Security and Intelligence Agencies Bill 2020 has been approved by Parliament earlier this month. And this is awaiting possibly the President's signature for it to become law. What more do we know about this Security and Intelligence Agencies Bill?
And so this is a bill that will actually create a situation where the various intelligence agencies, speaking of the National Intelligence Bureau, the External Intelligence Agency, which was formerly the Research Department, and the Bureau of National Communication, their work will actually be supervised. And the National Security Council, according to this particular bill, can actually designate other organizations as in securities and intelligence agencies. But the interesting bit is that in this bill, a complaints tribunal is being set up for persons who have been aggrieved by an act or omission of an intelligence agency to submit in writing or orally a complaint to the Director General of the Intelligence Agency. And when the complaint is actually not satisfactorily resolved within 30 days, then the complainant may then submit a written complaint to the Chief Justice, who will then refer the said complaint.
Is it a case of any person who feels abused by any of the security agencies can file to this tribunal?
This is specifically having to do with the security agencies as have been categorized as intelligence agencies under the said law, which is the Security and Intelligence Agencies Bill. So we're speaking of the National Intelligence Bureau, the External Intelligence Agency. We gather that the Bureau of National Investigation, BNI, and similar organizations that deal with intelligence matters. So when you feel aggrieved by anything that their personnel have done, you complain to the director of the agency. If the matter is not resolved within 30 days, then you can submit a complaint to the Chief Justice, who will then have to set up the said complaints tribunal to look at this. And this complaint tribunal is supposed to have representation up to 3 members, including either a High Court judge or a retired High Court judge, or a lawyer who qualifies to be appointed as a High Court judge as the person chairing it, as well as other 2 individuals who understand the security agencies and how they do their work. And they will then be asked to investigate the matter, and if there is even a case of compensation that has to be paid, then it would have to then come on out of the consolidated.
I mean, particularly for the BNI, there have been a lot of complaints over the years that they basically disrespect human rights of, people that they have in their custody. Lawyers have complained. They are not allowed to see their clients when the BNI arrests them. This has been crafted to try and sort of create sort of a mechanism so they can seek redress formally. Lawyers have had to go to the Human Rights Court to compel the BNI to produce individuals, but now there's an avenue to directly go to the Chief Justice?
Yes, to then set up the tribunal to actually look into this. An indication is that even when a case comes before the tribunal per this legislation, the expenses in terms of whoever is doing the complaint will, to a certain extent, could be borne by the state as part of the efforts to ensure adequate transparency. And for folks like the chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee, Sese Champong, he's convinced that this would help ensure adequate transparency as far as the work of some of these agencies are concerned. Thank you very much, Joseph. And thankfully, I've just been joined by the chairman of the Security and Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament, Mr. Sese Champong. Mr. Champong, thank you for your time here on Newstime.
Thank you very much, Evans, for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. Also joining us tonight is Samuel Kudita-Blakwa. He's MP for North Tongue. Hello, Mr. Kudita-Blakwa.
Hi, good evening, Evans.
Great to have you. And you've been traveling. I want to start with the running mate to John Mahama, Professor Nana Poka. You've been traveling with her. There's a statement out tonight after visiting the family of the bereaved Akwesi Boahene, who was killed, you understand, over the weekend. And she says that the killings and violent acts in the country are getting out of hand, and there's growing insecurity. I mean, our condolences to the family of Akwesi Boahene there, but that statement, isn't that overgeneralizing based on one case or pretty unfortunate tragedy for a family? Isn't that overgeneralizing beyond just a single case?
Not at all. Good evening to you and to all our listeners. The running mate, as you said, has been on a 5 regional tour, beginning from the Upper East region. She then proceeded to the Northern region, Northeast, Bono, and she is now in the Ahafo regions. I must say that she has been very well received by ecstatic crowds, very enthusiastic support, and I'm sure that Evans, you have monitored. So for the naysayers who say that the history which is being made, the first female running mates would not be able to hit the ground and would not be able to campaign, and our terrain might not be, suitable for a female, have to clearly revise their notes that our country has moved forward. And if you listen to the Northern Chiefs, the very conservative Northern Chiefs, but saying that, look, the time has come, and in all of their palaces, they have queen mothers who help them with good counsel to be able to administer and really lead their people. And that's what our country has been lacking, to have women at the very, very top, as vice president and as president. So we want to thank the good people of this country on behalf of Professor Nana.
Mr. Black, I appreciate if you can answer the direct question I asked about her comments today. In fact, the statement captures it as saying killings and violent acts in the country are getting out of hand and there's growing insecurity. Based on what?
I will conclude by thanking the good people of our country. Evans, is important. Your introduction was that she's on a 5 regional tour. It's important for us to show respect.
I just don't have time on this, so I appreciate we can directly answer the question for me.
Yes. So I'm done with that. Specifically to the visit, you do know that Mr. Akwesi Boahene was shot and killed. There's an industrious young a timber merchant in his early 40s who's been killed. The running mate is concerned that there's been a number of these incidents. In my own constituency in North Tongue, only last week, another young industrious trader who is a shop owner, popularly known as Sonny, was shot and killed. As we speak, nobody has been apprehended. The neighboring constituency. The assemblyman for that town, Sugakope, was shot and killed. As we speak, nobody has been prosecuted. We know the police has arrested some suspects, but we have not seen prosecution. We have not seen people being held accountable. You do know also, Evans, that during this registration, 2 people died, and the conduct of the security agencies have come up for question. Many security analysts have raised concern about the high-handedness, the brutalities that we saw during the registration. So it is all of these matters that are culminating in the running mate raising concern that, look, we cannot continue with these incidents of brutalities, of killings, where it appears that contract killings are going on. People just assassinate, assassins running amok, and just shooting and killing people, breadwinners. It can happen to any of us. And as a mother, she doesn't feel safe. And when she saw mothers, women crying, wailing, rolling on the floor today, I mean, she could not help it.
I mean, Mr. Blackwell, you cited a few examples. In fact, I counted from what you cited, put it, moderately, maximum of 7 cases that you've managed to point to. Does that justify a claim that there is growing insecurity in a country of almost 30 million people?
Absolutely, Evans. One life is one too many. You don't want, because we are 30 million, you don't want that 1 million people should be shot and dead before you know that, should be shot and killed before you know that, there's growing security. Nobody should be shot in our country. Our security architecture should be so...
But what you're saying is simply impossible. Every country has its own challenge of security. It is about limiting... you've been in government before. It's impossible to have a perfect system where people will not have insecurity concerns. But you put it in the context of what the statistics say. I just put out the statistics over the last year, and there's actually the Ghana Police Service's own website indicates a reduction year on year of actual crime and homicides.
You are wrong, Evans, to take that view. That is a rather lowering of standards and a view that is steeped in...
You don't want to speak to statistics?
Is a view that is steeped in mediocrity. All the statistics you are referring to, I am very conversant with those statistics. I'm very active in Parliament on all the committees that deal with these matters. Those statistics are not statistics that relate to the last 3 months. They are not statistics that relate to the last 2 months, and they are not statistics that relate to the month of August.
Do you have a statistic for the last 3 months?
Where we are seeing all of these killings.
I'm wondering, do you have the stats for the last 3 months?
We don't have that.
So how do you come to the conclusion then? That is
why you are the one coming to conclusion.
I was citing statistics over the last year. You've narrowed it down to 3 months. Do you have that?
Evans, I'm not dealing with old statistics. I'm dealing with what is happening now. In this month of August, I'm telling you that Mr. Banani has been shot and killed. Sonny has been shot and killed in Japan. I'm telling you that the assembly member for Sugakofe shot and killed. The perpetrators have not been brought to justice. These are facts. We've seen what happened during the registration. 2 people shot and killed. No arrests. Nobody. And it's happening now. These are current matters. And real lives that have been snapped away, taken away, and young children, widows have emerged, have been left helpless. These matters must be of concern to us. And the running mate is saying that we should not just adopt your approach this evening, Evans, where it's normal, there is insecurity in every country. Look, every country aspires for the best. There are jurisdictions in this world where they can go a whole month, sometimes a whole year, and the advocate
where we have zero crime,
without homicide, without shootings.
If we can point to a country where they have zero crime in a month, I'll be very grateful.
Oh, there are many. Can
you point to one now?
There are many.
If we can point to one, I'll be very grateful.
And beyond that, and beyond that, they will tell you that even when it happens, the security establishment is up and doing, that they are able to effect arrests and people are prosecuted. You don't want a culture of impunity to emerge where people can just take a gun, shoot people, and get away with it. Evans, you must be worried about this growing trend. I don't remember even under this government, even under the Akufo-Addo presidency, where you've had in 1 month or in 2 months these number of killings that have gone on, where people have just shot and killed people.
Let me bring in your colleague.
And no arrests have been made.
Let me bring your colleague from the who chairs the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament, Mr. Champon. Your committee, I know, gets briefings as and when, of course, you make requests to the sector leaders to come before you. What's the briefing? Do you have any briefing on the security situation in the last 3 months, and what is it?
Thank you very much, Evans. And let me say good evening to my colleague Sami on their tour and his viewpoints this evening. I don't think we are in a state of insecurity. That is a statement I can never admit. Crime do occur. There's no perfect society. And so crime do occur. And like you were asking, citing those instances do not necessarily equate to a total insecurity of our state. And we all have to be more responsible when we decide to speak about state security. State security cannot be toyed with partisan commentary and emotions. Let us say it as it is. Statistics demonstrate, and crime did not begin with this administration, and crime will not end with this administration. However, every manager of our public safety, your objective is to ensure that minimal, you do enough enforcement to prevent crime. If it does occur, you must put together the necessary tools to do effective investigations so that you get the culprits to book.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Kudjo Tablakwa says he cited at least 5 cases in the last month alone, and where no arrests have been made, nobody yet is. There's no significant movement in terms of coming to a prosecution on the matter. That clearly must be a cause for concern for you.
It is indeed a concern for us, and the police are investigating all these matters. We get our briefings as and when we invite them to come. In the last period of the exercise, we called them. They offered us some knowledge in respect of what they are doing. We are on recess now, so I'm still considering, unfortunately, because of the running mate of the NDC being up north, my colleague, the ranking member, is out and is out there. Definitely, this is campaign season; he must be there. But we are looking to congregate again and go further. But I have informal brief that tells me that the police are on top of the work. The criminal investigations department is already on ground. They've picked suspects. But these are matters of investigation. I can't share here because I then make their work so difficult for them. And so that is the only thing I can say for now. I can say on authority that the police service is on top of the ball.
Very quickly on this Security Intelligence Agencies Bill 2020 that sets up the Complaints Tribunal. What difference would that make in getting accountability from these intelligence agencies, particularly the BNI, often accused by lawyers and clans of human rights abuse?
Evans, due process and fair hearing and trial are mostly cardinal principles of fundamental freedoms and rights of people. Like you know, historically, more often than not, we chastise BNI, be it whoever is in the saddle and who falls down in the aisle. We rise and then we use all manner of language. And BNI is being used to intimidate, to brutalize, all sort of language is used. This new bill, which President is going to sign into an act very soon for us, offers some process of redress. If a person is aggrieved, it's not necessarily a person outside. It's an internal grievance procedure as well. You have to go through these processes are set out. And I think it gives some fairness in respect of people's freedoms, people's rights, when they are, unnecessarily trampled upon in the past as we used to see it. So I believe that this is in a way to help all of us have confidence in our intelligence agencies and then offer people the confidence again and the trust to cooperate whenever they come before them. Mind you, they are clothed with the powers of arrest and to investigate as well. Not so much so, but in seeking intelligence, because they act instead of the state, they have some powers of immunity, but that does not mean that they do anything by a whim of their own intentions. Nobody can capriciously do something without lawful orders. So certainly we need to ensure that the architecture as we have created it in this new legislation, and like I listened to your colleague Joseph Opoku give you the narrative on in the current act in sections 26 and 27, that is it spells it out, and the way the investigations go further in 28, how it is to be conducted, and all these processes are being introduced to, quote unquote, demystify the kind of fetish people used to attach these intelligence and security agencies with. I'm sure there are people like us who work in there, and so there's no fear or anything. They are there to protect me and you and the state in total.
Yeah, we'll see how this is implemented. Just a final thoughts to Mrs. Amokudu Black. Mr. Black, so Professor Jane Pokwajiman, we understand suspended her campaign briefly. Has she resumed, and where is she going next?
Yes, she has resumed this evening. She's currently in the Asanafo South constituency. She'll be moving to Asanafo North as well. And after that, she's scheduled to have an engagement with a number of interest groups at night. And she will be ending her 5 regional tour. She returns to Accra tomorrow.
Grateful. That's Samokudita Blackwater. He is MP for North Tongue, still ahead. Your projects cannot be located. Opposition NDC demands answers from government as it describes as misleading and dishonest claims of 17,000 projects undertaken by the Akufo-Addo government.
The presentation Ghanaians were fed with by the failed economic messiah turned misadvertisation, who has earned the dubious reputation of engaging in the worst kind of deception and political chicanery. Dr. Bawumia lacked candor.
And we'll fact check some of these claims. George Yafe joins me with business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans. And coming up in business, some enterprises face imminent collapse over surge in cyber attacks as more businesses go virtual because of COVID-19. And well, justify price review stance, rejecting market dominance abuse, and undercutting other players in the industry. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your offers, essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you?
Hello, my neighbors. You doing? How you doing? Against our ball. Hello, my neighbors. Against our ball. Momo Manta Bedu. Hey, hello, my neighbor. Hey, hello, my neighbor. Hey, Momo, hello, my neighbor.
August is here and Momo Month is back and bigger than ever. From now to the end of September, you stand the chance to win up to 10K Ghana Cedis cash just by paying with Momo QR code or merchant ID when you shop to accumulate reward points. And you could be one of the 2,000 winners this Momo month. Winners will be rewarded in August and September, so keep checking your points by simply dialing *120# and be on your way to a sweet reward for shopping safe and using Momo. Just Momo it. We did for you everywhere you go.
We give you nothing but the best, we stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture. Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi. Call us on 0302-764-101 or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Puma Drinks, ready to add flavor to your life? Puma Drinks, bursting with so many flavors, you just can't have enough.
This August, the spotlight is back on our culture, our music, our artists.
30 awards presented at 2 exclusive events on Friday 28th and Saturday 29th August at 8 p.m. each night.
Featuring a galaxy of stars, EL, Kiddy, Adina, Kwame Eugene, Kofi Kanata,
Medical, Kwesiasa, Akwabwa, Kim Promise,
Eno Baroni, Strongman, Celestine Donko, Ras Kuku,
Esia, Kofi Molly, and many more.
Don't miss the VGMAs live on TV3, Sound City TV, The Base TV, Rock Ghana on DSTV, and streamed on MTV Base and Ghana Music Awards pages.
The Vodafone Ghana Music Award, produced by Charterhouse with support from TV3, DSTV, KPMG, South City TV, media partners, and brought to you by Vodafone.
Our music is... The future is exciting. Ready?
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, some enterprises in the country face imminent collapse over surge in cyber attacks as more businesses go virtual because of COVID-19. According to the E-Crime Bureau, these firms are exposed to this challenge because of the kinds of systems that they are using. Cyber and forensic analyst at E-Crime Bureau, Sichofe Elo, says investing in these systems like these are critical to protecting the investments of businesses. He disclosed this at the first post-lockdown monthly business meeting in Tema branch at the Ghana Chamber of Commerce.
When you tell people things that these are the things that happen, this is the modus operandi of the attackers, they will not believe unless they see it happening live. Okay, so there was this time in 2017 where we went to the dark web and we saw Ghanaian credit cards that were being sold as low as $2, $1, and all that. So we just called the institution and asked them, okay, we are seeing your cards in the dark web. Should we go ahead and purchase them and try them to see if they are live, they are working cards? They said, okay, they didn't believe it. I can't mention the name of the bank. So we bought this credit card, then we gave it back to them to try. And when they tested it, they were live cards that were being sold in the dark web. So we gave them the indication that their systems were compromised. Okay, so they had to go back and do a forensic audit on their PCs to see where the compromise is coming from, and they were able to get to the root of it.
Cyber and forensic analyst at the E-Crime Bureau, Sichofe Elo. Now, meanwhile, the Tema Regional Chair of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Isaac Yusuf Barry, is actually calling on all to help fight cybercrime in the country. Now, oil marketing firm Gold has justified how it goes about reviewing the petroleum prices despite the current market development. The oil marketing firm has been accused of abusing its industry dominance over its failure to move along industry practices in terms of pricing. The development is said to be hurting other players that could even affect Gold's financials in the long-term future. But engaging journalists after its annual general meeting, Managing Director Kwame Sempepe says it doesn't see this as a challenge at all.
We decide that, well, it's a competitive market. We decide that we cannot go as much as the other industry goes from us go. We are not absorbing. When we do that, we are not cutting them, or we are not undercutting them. We are just doing what you believe is expedient, what to make us. If God wants to go that way, for us, we make the profit will come to Ghanaians and our shareholders. But we are very mindful of our position.
Managing Director of GOL, Kwame Osei-Prempeh. Now, ASA Group has indicated that it has not abolished its plans to list on the Ghana Stock Exchange as part of its localization drive. It follows concerns that the banking giant has delayed in responding to government proposal to list some of its shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now speaking to Joy Business from Johannesburg, South Africa, Group Chief Executive Daniel Malele says that the move is still under consideration.
That is a subject, as you quite correctly say, that's been on the radar screen for a while, and I don't know, Kumza was asking earlier if you came to our loan, which I was fortunate to be able to attend before the boom came down, if you wish. And you will recall at that launch that both the governor and the vice president very sharply raised that particular issue. And it's something that, you know, as I said when I was in Ghana, we undertook to look into that, evaluate that, and think what the best options might be. There are various issues that one can think about in terms of getting to what the underlying objective is, increased local participation. And so those options will need to be investigated, but quite frankly, these are things that will now need to be picked up once we sort of settle down everything around COVID. But that is an issue and a sensitivity and an important agenda item for the authorities and for the people in Ghana, we know and we appreciate, and it is not confined to your market only. There are other countries that have raised a similar issue.
Group Chief Executive of ABSA, Daniel Malele, speaking to Joy Business from Johannesburg, South Africa. And the Private Enterprise Federation is warning that delays in payment of locked-up funds could affect business confidence in the banking sector. It follows delays in the payment of businesses that have had their funds locked up, both the receiver of the microfinance and savings and loans, as well as finance houses, and how it finalizes its work in auditing the deposits of these businesses. President of the association, Nana Sebons, said the development is not good for a lot of businesses that are actually struggling because of the current COVID-19 issues. Been given details about the concerns that businesses have expressed.
They constitute a lot of businesses whose hard-earned income and money are locked up in legally organized institutions, are not paying back, and they also indicated, we're going to keep your money and give you a bond with no coupon for such. Nobody, the Constitution guarantees right to use your own assets. So if you have custody of my assets, you can tell me you can give it to me, and you're going to dictate the terms that I use my assets. So the essence is that they're not paying the businesses. A lot of businesses are stuck in there with their resources locked up. And the funny part is to listen to some of the receivers, or one of the receivers saying that we have identified the destination of these bankers or the institutions where they invested the money in overseas. If you find them, go and collect them and pay these people. It's going to take you a donkey years to get the assets to sell. But we have to either create a bond or find resources to pay people. You see, what I keep saying is that if we're not careful, we're killing the interests of Ghanaians to put their money in institutions. Because if I put my money today and I get it back.
Nana Sebonsu is president of the Ghana Association, that's Private Enterprise Federation, speaking over the to the stock market. Ghana stock, that is the GCB, went down by a peso to close at 3 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos. Farm milk lost 15 pesos and is now worth 1 Ghana cedi, 13 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
George, thank you very much. Misleading ghost projects, stolen, dishonest. Those are the words used by the opposition NDC to describe government's 17,000 projects completed or ongoing across the country. At the news conference, the NDC has been outlining what it claims are total falsehoods contained in Vice President Dr. Bawumia's infrastructure presentation last week. Sami Jemfi is a communications officer of the NDC.
We have no qualms about the decision of the Akufo-Addo government to showcase what they describe as achievements. However, the presentation Ghanaians were fed with by the failed economic messiah turned misadegatization, who has earned the dubious reputation of engaging in the worst kind of deception and political chicanery, Dr. Bawumia lacked candor and was full of deliberate distortions of facts, calculated to deceive the unsuspecting public. The whole presentation by Dr. Bawumia was a cocktail of blatant falsehoods, ghost projects, stolen projects, and shockingly mediocre accomplishments which will not pass for the achievements of a rural assemblyman, let alone a government that has had access to an unprecedented resource envelope of over 370 billion in the last 3.5 years. Vice President peddled a lot of downright lies during his presentation, which we shall disprove this morning through an evidence-based exposition, so that the Ghanaian people will come to know this deceptive Akufo-Addo government for who they really are. First, Bawumia's claim at page 56 of his speech that only 29 community-based senior high schools, E-blocks, have been completed by 7th January 2017, when the ex-Wa Mahama government handed over power to the Akufo-Addo government, is false. Ladies and gentlemen, our handing over notes, supported by final payment certificates raised by the contractors who executed and completed those projects, show that 46 and not 29 E-blocks have been completed by the Mahama government at the time of exiting office. This incontrovertible fact was corroborated by the NPP's own Minister of Education, Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, in an interview on Ekosi Sen on Accra-based Asempa FM on 5th March 2017. The claim, therefore, by the NPP that some of the completed projects have not been finished, hence were uncompleted, is ridiculous to say the least, as finishing is not part of the construction process or scope. After our painstaking investigations into the claims made by Dr. Bawumia and the delivery tracker which was launched at the program, we have identified hundreds ghost, into bracket, non-existent projects and thousands of stolen Mahama and private-owned projects which have been appropriated by this government as the achievements. Ghost project number one. Bawumia's claim at page 41 of his speech that this government is constructing 13 housing units at Second D in Tuma Estate, which is about 70% complete, is a figment of his own imagination, as same does not exist anywhere in the Second D metropolis. Bawumia's claim that this government is constructing, this time I am not 13, but 500 housing units at Sefioso, which is 20% complete, is yet another palpable falsehood, as no such project exists in Sefioso. Ghost project number 3, they claim at page 40 of Bawumia's speech that this government is constructing 120 affordable housing units in the Talensi district of the Upper East region, which is 20% complete, is yet another lie, as no such project exists. Ghost project number 6, they claim on government delivery tracker that they have constructed an astroturf in the dental constituency, is another palpable falsehood.
Well, my colleague, PhD Nanaya Osafo, has been to Adenta to verify the claims that we just heard there about the Adenta AstroTurf project, which the communications officer says does not exist. He joins us on the telephone line right now. PhD, what did you find?
Yes, Evans, currently I'm at the Adenta Wood Village, and on the very same park, there are heaps of fine sand and gravel packed to a side of the park. It looks the size of a standard football pitch, but none of the works in comparison. There's a lot of sand here, and it's well fenced though, but the wiring here of the metal mesh is quite rusty. We've been told that in January, the MP and chief of the areas were here for a short cutting ceremony, But briefly, after that, since Ghana recorded its first case of COVID-19, there's been no works from that time right up to now. Some of them even said the roads were expected to have been completed. The astroturf was expected. They were told that it would have been completed within a period of 4 months. But it's been some 8 months from that time, and we are yet to hear from authorities.
PC, thank you very much for that. Fact-checking the claims there, the competition of whether the projects exist or not between the NDC and the MPP. As you've seen, he's standing there, and that's his report. Make of it what you will. Now, today, junior high school candidates across the country were served that one hot meal promised by President Akufo-Addo in his written address to the nation on measures being taken against the spread of COVID-19. Now, you recall the president saying students currently in school preparing for their BEC will be given a meal every day beginning today, the 24th of August. Well, because some of these students had been going hungry in complying with the COVID-19 protocols.
I've just instructed the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection to begin preparations to ensure that as from 24th August up to 18th September, all 584,000 final year JHS students and 146,000 staff, both in public and private schools, be given one hot meal a day. This is to ensure full observance of the COVID-19 safety protocols.
So today, JHS candidates across the country were served a pack of jollof rice and an egg each as government began the fulfillment of that promise. Our correspondent, Albert Sore, was at some of the schools in the Bolgatanga municipality of the Upper East region and has come through with this report.
So I have been touring some schools here in Bolgatanga. I was at the St. Clement Catholic School and then the Methodist Junior High School, where the students were served jollof rice and an egg each. At the St. Clement Junior High School, we interacted with the students to know